Okay, September 3rd, Tuesday night ride sprint. I thought I had everything in order, but apparently I forgot the microphone. So we'll have to deal with a voiceover. Things got spicy right away on this ride, and I made a couple mistakes that ended up costing me in the end and resulted in me getting dropped right before the actual final sprint. So right here, the pace starts to quicken. You'll see that I throw down like 1,000 watts just to stay with this front little move here. This is a great example of how gaps that open up can really hurt you. The rider in front of Mark starts to allow a gap to open up, so Mark has to come around him, try and close that gap. You can see he's putting in a really strong effort here to close the gap, but he doesn't quite get it done. And this is where I think I kind of made a mistake. My goal was to let Mark close the gap, but you'll see he doesn't end up doing that. So had I put in a little effort going down that hill and come around Mark, I probably would have been able to get onto Yancey and Graham. But I didn't, and as you'll see here, I throw down a pretty big effort, getting up, I don't know if it got to 1,200 watts, but pretty big sustained effort to close the gap, and burned a lot of matches in the process. I guess my thought there was, A, I want to bridge this gap, and B, it'd be great if I could blow up the group behind so that it's a much safer sprint as we're going through these little S curves up ahead. So at this point, this is great because we've got a smaller group of 6 riders, but I also noticed that we're not pulling away from the group behind us, and Peter's been on the front for a while, so I call for him to come off. In addition to the beautiful sunset, you'll notice that we start taking shorter pulls here, and we eventually start to pull away from the group behind us. I also want to point out what a great ride Neil had here. This hill is usually where the group starts to break up if it's together, and you can see that there are people back there, but they start to go away once we get to the top of this hill. So it's not the finest looking pace line, but we do a good job of taking short pulls, coming off, and staying somewhat organized. Instagram does a nice job here of pointing to the hole that almost ate my bicycle last week. The writing was on the wall for me at this point. My legs just weren't there. That earlier effort kind of crushed me. I think if this had been a slightly bigger group, I would have had more time to recover. But as it was, I knew I had maybe one more pull in me, and then it'd just be holding on for dear life. It's kind of crazy. This little acceleration that Yancey puts in when Austin comes out of line does me in. Like, I can't hold his wheel, even though it's not a massive effort. And from here, the group ahead, they just kind of ride off into the sunset, and Austin and I think for the second week in a row, we kind of just limp home. With 2 weeks left of Tuesday night rides, hoping to actually finish closer to the front group so that I don't have to zoom in this blurriness or go out and buy a telephoto lens for this camera.
Glad you got some grass. I don't know. So I was trying to take out.